Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay. I was willing to subject myself to eating White Castle after the last movie. I am not throwing myself in prison for this one. Um, yeah, I'm not gonna be formulating any prison breaks. I'm not gonna be bribing any guards. I'm not doing it. Like White Castle, that's my limit. That's bottom of the barrel shit as it is. I'm not going to prison for this. So, if you're hoping for that, no. Anyway, so yeah, this is a donation reward for Sweet Venom. And is the sequel to Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. All I know about it is that it's a sequel to that, and I guess they're going to escape from Guantanamo Bay. I don't know what they're going to be doing at Guantanamo Bay. I know in the last one they were planning on going on a vacation, but I thought it was like to Switzerland, right? Somewhere like that. Um, Guantanamo Bay is not in Switzerland. It's, I, I think it's in Cuba. Great. Now I have to look it up. See what you make me do. See what you make me do, Venom. I don't think I spelled that right, but oh no, I actually did. Wow. Um, it is in Cuba. Yeah, I was correct. It's a naval base, and specifically a detention camp military prison in the naval base. So it is in Cuba though, and it has an airport apparently. Okay, so yeah, so I don't know how they're gonna end up getting stuck there unless this isn't gonna be like a direct sequel to the first. So I mean, I guess the kind of questions are like, okay, so where is this gonna pick up? Is Harold still gonna be with that girl? Um, is Neil Patrick Harris gonna make a return? Stuff like that. I mean, I'm assuming it's going to still have the same kind of debauchery we had with the last one, with drugs and nudity and stuff like that. Um, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. And there was actually a comment that I received on the last video, like not when it first came out, but like shortly thereafter. Um, that I actually want to discuss here. So let me see if I can get that up real quick. Let me see if I can find it real quick. I should be able to. Okay, so yeah, this is from 3 weeks ago. Um, I'll keep this user's name private, but yeah, basically their comment was just talking about like as an Asian American themselves, they were talking about how the movie was like making fun of stereotypes and racism. Because I had mentioned in my thoughts and everything on the movie that there was racism in it, and I didn't mean like the movie was being racist. I was more in reference to like racism was shown in it, and it was. But yeah, it's definitely I can see their points on like it's making fun of it and everything, and how it's like the stereotype aspect of like the characters are surface level when they actually subvert the typical tropes in a lot of ways. And my response was honestly very simple. It's like fair enough. I can't rightly contribute to that discussion outside of like an outsider's perspective because I'm white. I'm not Asian American. I do not determine how the representation is handled. I cannot say if it's good representation or not. I'm white. So, and yeah, there's a lot that I had seen the movie again. Like I'd seen it with some like videos and stuff, some reactions. Um, I did view it at a surface level a little bit. But when seeing the movie again, I was able to like see more to it, and I do enjoy it. It's an enjoyable enough movie. But and like I even said to them, it's like my statements in the video, my thoughts were from the perspective of an outsider, and I didn't mean to offend or misunderstand or any of that. So I just want to go into this movie, making sure I state right off the bat that that's going to probably be the case here too. I'm going to be expressing my thoughts on this film and my thoughts on the events from the perspective of a person who, you know, isn't going to understand a lot of the nuances of that because it's not my story. I'm not Asian American. That doesn't mean that I can't enjoy this movie or watch this movie or anything. It just it doesn't mean quote unquote the movie isn't made for me. I hate that argument when anyone puts it up because it's like it's just it's clearly meant to represent a specific group of people, to give them representation, and that's great. And that doesn't mean that everyone else can't watch and enjoy it too. That doesn't mean that it's not made for them. It just means that it's specifically representing certain people. There's still things that anyone can relate to, anyone connect to. It's the same as like movies like Turning Red and Encanto. Like people have like to say that same kind of thing with those movies. And it's like it's just kind of bullshit. It's like I'm not a Chinese Canadian like Maylin in Turning Red, but there's a lot in that movie I could understand. 90s boy band culture, it's like shit, yeah. Or early 2000s, I guess. Um, it's like shit, yeah, I understand that. There's a lot of things in there, like Tamagotchis and shit. It's like, yeah. It's like, of course, there's certain aspects that I won't get, that I can't get. That the only way I'd be able to understand is if I, you know, put in a lot of research into doing so. And that's the same with like with this movie or these movies, I guess. There's going to be a lot that I'm just not going to get, a lot that's not going to speak to me, and that's fine because it's going to speak to the audience it's meant to. It's going to speak to the audience it's giving representation to. And I can only share my thoughts through the perspective of an outsider, and that's fine. But I should acknowledge that. I should acknowledge that there's things that I might not get. I might not understand. I might make mistakes. I might say the wrong thing, and I'm gonna own up to that. I'm just saying this is just gonna be from the perspective of me. I'm going to go into this movie and I'm going to view it as such. View it as something where it's like I'm gonna try to enjoy the movie, see the movie for what it is, and judge it as like a movie and as the content and everything. I'm not gonna like try to like force my thoughts and opinions and my viewpoints on the race stuff unless it's like so obviously like someone in the like a character is being so blatantly racist. It's like that's I can point that out because and again in the first movie there were characters who were doing that and they were shown to be bad people, and it doesn't make the movie racist. It's just the characters were being racist, and I've seen plenty of movies with racist characters. It's like it's and they're almost always shown as being bad guys, so hey, that's a good thing at least. There's nothing wrong with pointing that out, but like trying to explain the nuances of like how the races are represented. I can't do that with this. And I shouldn't really try. Like, I can do that when it comes to queer representation, because I am queer. I could do that with specifically trans representation. I can do that with female representation. Stuff like that. It's like, sure. That's stuff I can touch on. Autistic representation I can touch on. But stuff like that, it's like, no, I really can't like give proper thoughts in regards to how well or not different races are represented if I'm not part of those races. I can only say what I think based off of like what I've heard from, actual people of those races and everything. That's the best I can do, and even then it's like it's not entirely my place to make assumptions. So again, I'm going to handle this, I'm going to go into this knowing that, and I'm going to do my best to adjust my thoughts going into this in regards to that. So I wanted to mention this here at the beginning and everything to just let you guys know that I did look at the surface level of things a little too much in the first one, and I want to adjust myself. I want to be better here. I just want you guys to know that. But yeah, I don't know exactly how this is gonna go. But this is the second in the mainline movies for this, the second and the last. There is a holiday special movie as well. But as of current, I'll just say that's not requested, so we'll see. Excuse me. Ugh, I feel like I've been sneezing a lot over the past couple days during videos. Either way, we're just gonna get to this. So hopefully I still end up enjoying this no matter what. I enjoyed the last one too, and I actually enjoyed it more on rewatch. So yeah, let's see what we got in store for this. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the movie. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I was looking up the cast for this, and I swear I said, oh shit, really? Like half a dozen times. So first off, the Grand Wizard, who was credited as Reverend Clyde Stanky, as the actor who played him, it was Christopher Maloney, who was in the first movie too, if you remember correctly, The Trucker, and who's also known for Law and Order SVU. What? Okay. But I looked up a couple of the others. So, George W. Bush, this was one, was played by James Adamian. He is a stand-up comedian, actor, and impressionist. And, until 2009, he actually was a consistent impersonator of W. Bush on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson. And he also portrayed Bernie Sanders during the Trump versus Bernie tour. So he's an actual impersonator of George W. Bush. So it's not just like something he did for the movie. It's actually something that he has, experience in. Yeah, it looked like he portrayed Bush in a lot of things. Not only just Craig Ferguson, but Mad TV, Mind of Mencia, all kinds of stuff. Um, and he was also apparently various voices in the Headhunters episode of Gravity Falls, which is really fun. He's a character in Adventure Time. I don't recognize the name of Ogdoad. I don't know. Um, he's been in various other things like Venture Bros, Regular Show, Star Wars Rebels. Apparently, Wander Over Yonder. He's been in quite a lot. He's been in quite a lot, actually. Oh, he's Bane in the Harley Quinn series. Oh shit, that's hilarious. Okay, well I definitely know that, and he is doing an impression in that too. So he's doing a exaggerated impression of the Tom Hardy Bane. So there is that. Apparently, he's in a few episodes of Inside Job, and unfortunately, he's also in an episode of Velma. It seems. I mean, it's a job for him, I guess. Um, but then we have Missy Pyle, who was Raylene, the wife, the redneck wife, and it's like I'm like looking at her. It's like I know her. I actively know her. And it's like I'm thinking about it because it's like I very much know her because she has a very distinct um, look. I don't know how else to word it. I guess you could just say she's hot. And she's been in a lot of things I know. She's in Home Alone 4, which is hilarious in and of itself. Um, I actually like the later Home Alone movies for just how bad they are. They're so bad they're good kind of things. She was Mrs. Beauregard in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the Johnny Depp one. Definitely was. I think that's where I'm thinking of. I don't think she was the woman I was thinking of in uh, How the Grinch Stole Christmas. In fact, I would have seen that by now, so no. But that's what I was thinking of. She was Mrs. Beauregard for sure. What else was she in? Apparently she was in the second Percy Jackson movie, but I never saw that one. I only saw the first. Oh yeah, she was in Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle. So there's that. Let's check shows here. Any shows I might know her from, even if it's just a voice role. I'm not seeing anything so far. Like shows I've heard of, but not ones I've really seen. It looks like. Yeah. But yeah, Charlie and Chocolate Factory for sure. Like definitely Mrs. Beauregard. That's I think the biggest one I know her for. Um, a lot of these other ones I just haven't seen, like The Artist or Gone Girl or oh I know she was in Ma. Yeah, she was definitely in Ma. What the hell? How did I miss that? Yeah, it's right there. I don't know how I missed that. Yeah, she was in Ma. Okay. But next after that, Danielle Ackles, who is Vanessa, Kumar's ex and I guess current, you could say, girlfriend. I wanted to look it up for her as well because I'm thinking like I don't know, maybe I might know who she is. Um, she's married to Jensen Ackles from Supernatural, or the Boys. He was in the Boys now, so that's fun. Um, she's married to Dean Winchester, um, so there's that. But I'm looking at it, it's like I don't really think I know anything she's actually been in. Like I've never seen One Tree Hill. Um, and apparently she was only in certain episodes of other shows. It's just, but she did have a recurring role in seasons 13 to 15 of Supernatural. As Sister Joe Anael, I'd have to I'd have to check up on the character again to because I don't recognize the name offhand. But I believe both Jensen and Jared Padalecki's wives were in this show, so that's not a surprise to me. Then we have Rob Cadre, who was Ron Fox, the racist deputy secretary in the government there. Um, I've definitely seen him and stuff, so let's take a look here. Unaccompanied Minors, I did see that once. Once, mind you. Blades of Glory, I now pronounce you Chuck and Larry. I've seen those movies. It seems like he's kind of in those kind of movies. Apparently, he was the voice of a Metro City citizen in Megamind. That's a wild credit, but okay. Not even like a big role, just random citizen. He's in the Hot Tub Time Machine parties, apparently. I'm not really seeing too much of anything else in terms of movies, which surprises me a bit. What about shows? Maybe I know him more from shows. Community? Okay. Maybe? I haven't seen all of Community. Maybe he was in the seasons that I watched. That's a possibility. Because I'm not seeing really anything else. That's wild. It's like I very much recognize him like by his face, but I maybe it's Community. Maybe it's Community because there's not really too much I would actively recognize him from, I feel. I don't know. um, Next, we have Roger Bart, who is Dr. John Beecher, the vice chairman of the NSA, and he was the rational member of the government in this. So what was he in? Oh, he was the singing voice of young Hercules in Disney's Hercules movie. Oh, okay. Random. Hostel Part 2. I've only seen the first Hostel. Oh, he was in Law Abiding Citizen. That's a great movie. That is a really good movie with Jamie Foxx and Gerard Butler. I love Law Abiding Citizen. I have it on DVD. Okay. I'd have to see that again to really recognize him. He was in Tick Tick Boom? Featured Diner. Okay. Just a random role, it seems. Apparently, he was a very recurring character in Desperate Housewives, but I never saw that. Uh, yeah, a lot of stuff that I just never really have seen. It seems like, oh, shit, he was Principal Nero in a series of unfortunate events, the 2018 version, or not 2018. I think that's just when his role was. The Netflix version, let's just say that, with Neil Patrick Harris. Funny enough, yeah, okay, I know who he was there. Okay. Also, he has a lot of theater credits too, including playing Doc Brown in Back to the Future the musical. Okay, that's fun. Try to ignore her. And then the last one I wanted to check was Eric Winter, who played Colton, Vanessa's fiance. Um, let's see, what was he in? Anything I might know? In terms of movies, absolutely nothing. Wow. What about television? Apparently he was in Days of Our Lives, but I never really watched soap operas. Um, he was in 8 episodes of The Mentalist, but I never watched that. He's in 2 episodes of The Good Doctor, but I never watched that. I never watched a lot of these shows. It's like Fantasy Island. It's like it's shows I've heard of but never seen. So yeah, I don't know him from anything. Literally nothing. Rizzoli and Isles, apparently, he was in an episode of that. He was in an episode of CSI. It's like that I've at least seen, but I don't know if I've seen that episode. I haven't seen everything from that. So it's like he just kind of looked familiar, I guess. um, so there's that. But yeah, so and the last one I wanted to look up. Um, I think I said that one was the last one, but I I guess I lied accidentally. Was Beverly D'Angelo who played Sally? She was the sex worker leader. What, that sounds wrong. Um, matron would work. With the cowboy hat and everything, the cheetah print and everything. I'm like I kind of was like wondering like who she was, but it's like it just didn't click with me that she could be familiar. Um, she was Ellen Griswold in the National Lampoon Vacation movies. Um, apparently all of them too. Like she's one of the actors who didn't change between them, along with like Chevy Chase. She was the wife in National Lampoon Vacation movies, which includes Christmas Vacation, which is a yearly tradition for me to watch at holiday time. So it's like I very much know who she is from that. Was she in anything else? I wonder that I might have seen. Yeah, it looks like she was in all of it. Oh, she was in American History X. Okay. I don't know who Doris Vineyard is off the top of my head, but apparently she was in that, and we did react to that. Um. Oh, she's apparently in Violent Night, which we'll be getting to that at some point. So that's interesting. She was in some television films as well, but nothing I recognize there. What about series? An episode of Tales from the Crypt, apparently. A couple episodes of The Simpsons. Apparently, she played Ellen Griswold in Family Guy, but I guess Family Guy makes kind of sense. Episode of Law and Order SVU. Yeah, not really much else there. But Ellen Griswold, it's like I definitely know her. Also, apparently, she was married to Al Pacino from 1997 to 2003. And it's like, okay, random. Also, she's 71, and like I'm looking at like recent like pictures of her and stuff, and it's like she's still fine. Like fine as in hot, by the way. Like I don't mean like you know what I mean. She's still got it going on. Like how is she that attractive still? It's like Susan Sarandon, who's going to be in the Blue Beetle movie and everything. It's like she's still fucking smoking hot, and now Beverly D'Angelo as well. And it's like Meryl Streep is obviously another example. What are with all these mature women being so goddamn hot still? Like I know it's probably because they're wealthy and can afford good surgeries, or if they don't have surgeries, they can afford like the best products and stuff. But still, like goodness gracious, let me simp over the hot old ladies, okay? um, but anywho, I guess you could put Halle Berry and Jennifer Aniston up there. They're up there in age at this point, so yeah. Okay, I'm getting off track. I'm getting off track. Okay, let's actually talk about this movie because it's been like 17 minutes and we haven't actually talked about my thoughts. We've just been going over the cast. Um, in some ways, I think this was not as entertaining as the first Harold and Kumar movie, but in some ways, I also think it was a little more. I think it got the themes and messages down a little better, personally, and the satirical nature of it, I feel, was gotten across a lot more than the first one. But apparently, this film had some backlash against it. According to this, prior to its release, it faced backlash for its comedic portrayal of Guantanamo Bay, with Amnesty International mounting a campaign to highlight the testimonies of abuse and torture made by the camp's detainees. And it's like, I think everybody is aware at this point of how, like, excessively cruel and inhumane Guantanamo Bay was. I don't think I don't think it's active anymore. Like, I think you can, like, actually just visit it as a tourist spot at this point. Um, but I think everyone understands by this point, and maybe even by the point this came out in 2008, that Guantanamo Bay was excessively cruel and inhumane. And I don't think this was trying to necessarily minimize that at all. I think it was rather, because it did show it as needlessly cruel. That was very much shown. It was obviously to a comedic effect, but it's a comedic movie. It's a satire. It's mocking that kind of shit. That's kind of the point. Um, Mind you, as I've said in the past and in the pre thoughts and everything, I'm not like I can't speak for that kind of thing. If like detainees who had been in Guantanamo Bay were upset by this portrayal, that's perfectly valid and they have every right to be. So I can't fully say in regards to that. Um, Also, apparently there was a post-credit scene that just wasn't in my copy. Like I even checked and it's like, no, it just ended at the credits. It's like, oh, okay. Um, yeah, apparently there was a post-credit scene that shows Neil Patrick Harris is still alive outside the brothel somehow. Who fucking knows how, but he was. Um, so I guess there's a chance that he returns in the third movie, Harold and Kumar Christmas. Um, but yeah, so I think that the first movie had a little more like shock value to it. What I mean is that it was a little more new at that point. It felt fresher. Like even if you've seen other stoner films, which I've seen a couple, it still felt unique in a way. This film feels like it doesn't tread the same ground. It definitely covers other topics, satirizes other things, such as how absolutely fucked up the government is and how racist they tend to be and shit. But yeah, it's like it's it feels almost like it's not fresh anymore. Like even though they do different things, it just doesn't feel the same in terms of just pure entertainment value. Again, in terms of how it handled its theming and ideas and messages, I think it actually handled it better. So it's kind of a complicated feeling, and on where I would place this in comparison to the first movie. According to this, the critical consensus on Rotten Tomatoes, which as always take with a grain of salt, says it may not equal its predecessor, but Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay is still good for some laughs and food for thought. Um, Daily Variety declared it Animal House meets Dr. Strangelove. I have never seen either of those films, and called it one of the ballsiest comedies to come out of Hollywood in a long time. What, for criticizing the government and everything? The Guardian, which rated it 7 out of 10, noted that despite having a total nonsense story, I wouldn't call it total nonsense. It's just obviously heavily exaggerated and satirized. Its screening was one of the most raucous screenings I've ever attended. Even the opening credits were wildly applauded, and much of the dialogue was inaudible over the laughter. Richard Roper of At the Movies lamented that although he enjoyed the pop-fueled laughs and the sheer energetic lunacy of the original, I was really let down by this uninspired sequel. The New York Daily News said that the movie forgets to stay true to their characters or to itself. I don't think so. I thought the characters were pretty much the same. Like, we continued to see Harold standing up for himself and everything. We continued to see Kumar doing his thing. They felt like this was a true follow-up to the first movie. Michael Phillips of the Chicago Tribune wrote that you find yourself smiling at some of the bits, wincing through many, many others, and ultimately wondering if the pacing would have improved had either Harold or Kumar developed a terrible cocaine habit. I had no real issue with the pacing at all. I had no thoughts on that at all. It felt pretty much the same as the first movie in regards to that. Amnesty International USA commented by saying that Guantanamo is no joke. Yeah, we know about their thoughts on that, and I agree. But again, this is satirizing all of that. They have encouraged their membership to hand out flyers at movie theater screenings to promote awareness about the treatment of detainees at the detention camp. Again, it's like, don't do shit like that. That just makes you look like a pompous jackass. It's like, again, we agree with you. And I think the people who made and wrote this film agree with you. That's the point. They're not belittling or minimizing how fucking terrible Guantanamo Bay was. That's not the point of this film. They're satirizing how fucking racist and terrible the government is, and how all of this shit is fueled by terrible assumptions. That's kind of the core theme of this movie, from what we can tell. Assuming shit about people based on narrow-minded viewpoints. I keep saying that. That's what it's clearly about. And there was some of that in the first movie too, for sure, but it very much dialed it up to 11 in this one. It was very much the core theme, the core idea that they were trying to get across. Even more so than like just the government fucking sucks and everything. So yeah. Yeah. And in the end, it was a wholly happy ending. Both Harold and Kumar got their happy ending. They got pardoned by W. They got their girls. They got to enjoy some time in Amsterdam. They fucking just got to live and enjoy their lives. After all this time of just being put through all this hell, like, these two movies take place back to back. It's not like, oh, a few months later or a couple years later. No, it's back to back. The events of these two movies happen back to back. It's like, the amount of shit they had to go through in that short of a time is insane. It's absolutely fucking insane. And so the fact that it ends with them just, being happy, having both found love and, just becoming better for it, is just so good. It's so refreshing and nice to see. Like, the ending credits, like, before, like, the regular black screen credits roll and everything, the credits you see at first are, like, going while they're just enjoying their time in Amsterdam. They're just fucking partying and having a blast. It's entirely positive. It's like, it feels so satisfying. Again, after all this shit they went through, it feels so satisfying to just see them just having the time of their lives. And it makes me actively want to see the third movie, Harold and Kumar Christmas. Like, after the first one, I was kind of like, I'm going to see the second one at some point. It's just, I'm not like necessarily like the most enthused about it necessarily, but I'm not against the idea. But with this one, it's like I really actively want to see where it goes now, as long as the third one doesn't fuck it up. But mind you, I don't want to know that ahead of time, but I do want to see it. I very much want to see the third movie now. I want to see Harold and Kumar Christmas, even though it's not around Christmas time at all, because I genuinely enjoyed this duology so far. Eventually a trilogy. I genuinely enjoyed how this ended out and how like I think viewing it from a different perspective than I did the first movie helps too. Because even though I didn't find this one as just generally entertaining as the first one, I did still find it entertaining. But when I went into the first one, I also went in viewing it as just a stoner movie, and also with my mistake, I would say, of you know trying to generalize things and look at things on the surface level, because again, I can't speak for how Asian American experience is, for how that is. Um, I went into this. I went into the first movie, and I feel like I got a lesser experience out of it when I first reacted. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, when I watched it again, I actually enjoyed it a lot more with those fresher eyes and with having seen those comments from the one from the one person who decided to basically call me out, very kindly and very politely, of course, and I thank you for that. I'm glad you didn't just like shit on me, although like I wouldn't necessarily have blamed you. Again, I wasn't like being terrible, like, but I definitely needed to be called out for the generalization and all I was doing. But since I went into this movie having more of that hindsight in my mind, it didn't feel as shocking to me. It didn't, and I definitely like, I'm definitely viewing things like, oh, like I can't speak for the racism that is being leveled against them right now. I've never gone through that. I have a lot of privilege as a white person to where I wouldn't necessarily go through that. Granted, as I said, I've never been on an airplane. I've only been to an airport, I think, once, and I think I think we were picking my mom up or something like that, or seeing her off, something like that. Um, but I've only been to an airport once, and I've never been on a plane, so I've never been through all of that jazz. Like, I don't know, like, how the TSA would react to a trans person. I can't say for that. But I've heard stories from people who have gone through it, people of color who have gone through shit because of being racially profiled. And it's terrible to hear those stories. And I've heard of stories of people who have been accused of crimes and assumed that they were criminals because of the color of their skin. People who've been falsely imprisoned because of the color of their skin. And it's horrible. And again, I can't speak to the experience. I can just share my thoughts from an outsider perspective. And I mean, I hate it. I hate seeing that stuff. I hate hearing about that stuff. But I can't speak to it. And so I went into this movie with that different perspective, and I think it helped a lot. I think I felt more for Harold and Kumar as characters, just kind of experiencing what they were going through and everything, especially with how much racism like was fueled in this, how do I word this? How much racism was a plot point in this film, and how much it was used against the characters of Harold and Kumar. Um, yeah, it's just it's insane how just wildly terrible it's like it was kind of portraying all this, and that's the good, that's the right thing to do. It's like it should be portrayed as terrible. And it's like, yeah, obviously it was satirizing, obviously it was making fun of this all, and in the end, Harold and Kumar, they overcame all of that, and their lives are better for it at the end. They're better because they were able to overcome that racism. And I'm not saying that we should want people to have to overcome that. We should definitely not want people to ever go through that. But it just, it was so much for them to go through, and it's like it just upset me so much. But that shows how invested I was. I wanted to see them succeed, and I wanted to see them happy. I may be terrible at wording all of this. I may be like really, really bad at wording shit. And I'm always afraid that I'm going to say something wrong here. But I just, let's just end this with saying I really enjoyed this. Maybe not as just on a pure entertainment factor level as the first movie, but I appreciate the first movie a lot more now, and it actually helped my enjoyment of this second movie as well. And I mean, hey, any movie where we can say fuck you to the government is a good movie to me. um, but yeah, like I said, I'm very interested in the third one. Maybe we'll get to that at some point. Just has to be requested. But yeah, tell me in the comments below, what did you think of Harold and Kumar Escape from Guantanamo Bay? And in the meantime, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.